All right, so it's been a while since I posted anything on the page. Um, the time of year here is what we like to refer to here in the Midwest as Fool Spring. So we had a few 70, 80 degree days. I think I got up to 80. I'm not sure yesterday, but it felt really nice. All the trees started budding and kind of fooled everything. Now today it's a little cooler. Of course, it's not that cool. It's 50 degrees and we feel like we're freezing to death now since it's been 70. But that's just because we get thin-skinned. Um, this time of year for game is really tough because there's not much food out there. So it's really tough on game. So your supplements and all this stuff that you buy that, you're going to grow these great big bucks and all that, this is actually the time of year when I feel like it's needed because they're trying to regain strength, the bucks that's made it through the cold snaps and everything. And one of the old timers that I used to be around called it the winter kill, and it was just the winter time that kills game, and it's because they get too thin, they don't have enough fat reserves, there's not enough food, they're busy mating, there's 100 different reasons. But anyway, no matter any of that, now we're coming up on spring, and there's very little food. Everything is extremely picked over. If you go underneath an acorn tree right now and rake the leaves back, there's no acorns there. There's very little food for the animals. Now these Fool Springs bring on the buds, and that really helps the deer out. Deer eat a lot of browse. Everybody thinks that deers eat acorns or deers eat, whatever. And you know, you get a year whenever there's no acorns and there's less deer, but they're always there. And ironically, the I might go out on a limb and say that the deer even taste a little better on the years when there's no acorns because I think acorns give them a little stronger flavor in the meat. But at any rate, so if you couldn't tell, we're on trees today, talking about trees. So one thing I've tried to do in recent times is try to learn how to graft trees. There's some old trees around that are rumored to have been planted by my great 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 granddads and all this. I don't know if they planted them or not, but it's a nice thought. The trees are there, so either they got planted or they came up on their own. However they got there, they're there. There's one in particular, and Dad always called it a river nut hickory. I don't know if that's a proper term for it or what it is, but it does have a different looking nut on it. It's kind of oblong, and the squirrels just clean it off every year. If there's nuts on that tree, the squirrels just clean it off. So that tells me the nuts are probably pretty good. I've never eaten one off that particular tree, but they clean them off. They're gone. They cut them before they ever hit the ground, so you don't even get a chance to know if the hickory nuts on that tree would make a good pie or whatever, because the squirrels just inhale them. And so I've talked to the landowner that's there now, and she allowed me to cut some twigs off of that tree. And I've went around the woods and I've tried to find other little hickory trees that are maybe broke off or snapped off, or maybe the tops of them have been winterized real hard and they're ratty looking, and I've cut some of them down to maybe a 4-foot stump, and I've tried to graft some of these, and my grafts are looking pretty good. I've tried grafting before and I failed miserably. That goes a long way in a lot of things. Just because you try, maybe you're green on turkey hunting, you don't know how. It took me 4 years to see a live turkey in the woods when I first started. I think I was 12 whenever I first started turkey hunting. And I learned, because no one around here had ever turkey hunted. We'd just gotten turkeys a few years before that, and no one knew anything. The first time I ever went turkey hunting, I was in blue jeans and a t-shirt. So, you know, you got to learn. And I would say tree grafting is no different, because I have failed on just about every one of them I've tried, but I'm not going to stop trying. There may be a day when I get tired of it, but it won't be until I succeed on at least just one. And even if that's just it buds out and then dies, at least I know I did something right. But the time of year has a lot to do with it. I don't have that exactly down all the way. And so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I like to plant trees. I like to plant flowers out in the woods. I like to take me an armload of irises and just put them beside a tree somewhere. That way, later on, whenever I'm dead, gone, and buried, my grandkids walk through the woods and say, "Well, Granddad was here," because there's irises growing there, or daffodils, or whatever. So I like to leave little things behind for later generations to see, and kind of put my mark on my own place. My grandpa's marks are here. My dad's marks are here. The things they like to do. My granddad cut cedar posts a lot. So there's little cedar stumps around here, and every time I see one that's been cut off, I know Granddad was there. So my kids can be my grandkids or my great great grandkids or whatever. That's kind of something you can pass on that, they'll remember you by, and maybe it'll make them smile. And so I'm going to show you a few of these little tree grafts. I don't intend on making a big long video today, but if you can look, I done it a little different this year. I put spaces in the plastic so it could breathe a little better. Last year I wrapped everything solid with the plastic wrap, and they rotted. They got a mold in them and they rotted. So that didn't work. I got another one here, and the buds have actually opened on this one a little bit, if you can see. And then there's the wrap. And you can get on YouTube, on other channels, and go over all that. But pay it forward a little bit into the woods and do something neat. My kids are grown and gone. So maybe whenever I get better at this, I can do this with my grandkids. Stay-at-home papaw stuff. That would be wonderful. So I'm going to get my fancy little camera prop back going here. It's a tree limb. So use what's available. There's all kind of entertainment in the woods. And I think we forget about that a lot. That there's, you don't need a phone all the time. Here I am on YouTube saying you don't need a phone. But seriously, leave the phone at home every now and then. It'll ring and you can not be there, and then you can go get it later. It's amazing. Back in the 80s, in the early 90s, we actually wrote letters to people and had to wait 4 or 5 days for a reply. And somehow or another, life was just life back then. We got along somehow. Now we can't do anything without a phone. As great of a tool as it is, you've got the internet to look over things, and there's thousands of things to learn, both good and bad. That's however you want to take it. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw a little video on about tree grafting. I don't know much about it, but maybe it'll inspire somebody else to do that with their kids. It's something you can fail at and learn together with your kids. It's important to fail. A lot of people are going to take that wrong, but they need to see perseverance, okay? And you only get perseverance if you failed at something. So if something simple as a tree graft, work at it till you succeed. There's a whole, you could do rock collecting. You could study fungus. I mean, there's all kind of things that are just out there for us to learn, and they're right here around us. You don't need to go on a trip to Florida. You don't need to take off and go to Southwest Zimbabwe and find stuff. It's all right here. It's all right where you are. If you live slap in the middle of a city, I'm sure there's a park around somewhere where you could go learn something. Now, they might frown on you cutting a tree and trying to graft it, so you got to work inside guidelines. But anyway, it's springtime. I don't know how many more videos I'm going to make on this channel. I've started to get kind of bored with it, and it seems like after I watch my own videos all the time, it's like I say the same thing over and over and over again. But, you know, if all I do is inspire someone to get their kids and get them out and do something. I've said this on almost every video I've ever made. Do something. Take your kids and do something interesting. Create something interesting for them to get. You know, how many kids know how to graft a tree? How many kids know how to walk in a plowed field and find an arrowhead? How many kids know how to, you know, skin a rabbit? You know, and I know all these things are frowned on now, you know, because they're time wasters. Well, so is YouTube, and so is Facebook Reels, and all these things. Okay, they're all time wasters. We all know that. So why not go waste your time being productive at something else? Okay, that's all I got. It's a pretty day out, and I'm gonna try to enjoy the rest of it the best way I know how. I'm gonna go feed my fish. But anyway, have a blessed day. Be good. Be careful. Hang in there.